Grievous was a feared and highly volatile Separatist general during the Clone Wars. In canon, little is known of Grievous's past, although we are aware he was a Kaleesh warrior prior to his transformation into a cyborg. In Legends continuity, the transformation Grievous underwent was not fully of his choosing. The Sith Lord Count Dooku had arranged prior to severely injure the Kaleesh, but not kill him. In canon though, this is not the case. Dave Filoni, the man behind the Clone Wars TV show, which is canon, said that he wished to take all sympathy away from Grievous and really make him into a true villain with no motives that we as an audience could potentially relate to. He wanted Grievous to live up to his name and to have willingly submitted to undergo huge changes to his body, not be tricked into it by the Sith. In the Clone Wars episode Lair of Grievous, we receive a very important quote that tells us a lot about this. Sometimes I wonder why you submitted to the changes. Improvements. I submit to no one. I choose them. Grievous himself was even said to have approached Dooku before the Clone Wars began, telling the Sith he was, quote, chosen for something great. So why is this, and why would he agree to such major alterations to his body? To discover why, we must also look at another major motive for Grievous, his absolute hatred for the Jedi Order. In all of canon, there is really no true clear motive for Grievous to hate the Jedi, but nonetheless, he really seems to a great deal. It has been suggested that Grievous, before his time as a cyborg, admired the Jedi and the skill they commanded. Grievous himself likely had aspirations of becoming a Jedi Knight, but was ultimately rejected, likely due to him having little or no Force potential. In order to get back at the Jedi, Grievous took a different path to achieve the power he so desperately craved, submitting himself to the Separatists for enhancements that would allow him to kill the Jedi who rejected him earlier. Being a warrior, Grievous craved power and recognized the Jedi as the most esteemed warriors in the galaxy, wishing himself to become one. But the rejection he suffered caused a deep-seated hatred and fascination with the Jedi Order, and Grievous determined if he could not become a Jedi, he would wipe them out entirely. Volunteering himself to the Separatists, much of his organic body was replaced with cybernetics, as Dooku altered his body to allow the general to compete with Force sensitives. Eventually, Grievous would train with Dooku in lightsaber combat, using his newfound speed and strength to contend with those capable of using the Force. At first, Grievous was ordered to attack the Jedi and Republic in space confrontations, with Dooku still not fully satisfied with his ability to compete with the Jedi. Eventually, Dooku allowed the Jedi to infiltrate Grievous's own lair, where they discovered his home was decorated with the triumphs of his past life as a great warrior, and also showcased the transformation from organic being to cyborg. With the Jedi successfully entering his home, Grievous was caught utterly off guard, forced to fight the Jedi with little warning. However, he eventually fought them all off, killing all the clone troopers and the Jedi Knight, Nadar Veb. Grievous then engaged the Jedi Master and Council member Kit Fisto, and while the two fought to a stalemate and Fisto eventually escaped, Dooku was pleased with Grievous and his showings against the Jedi. Grievous was once a proud warrior, who above all wished to advance his abilities. He was never cut out to be a Jedi Knight though, but the power they held fascinated him, and he craved it. The rejection from the Jedi Order drove him to hatred, to the point where he was willing to do whatever necessary to show them he was far more powerful than they surmised, by any means necessary. As said earlier, in canon, all sympathy was stripped from Grievous and replaced with entirely selfish motives for the droid leader. They wanted to introduce Grievous as a great warrior who desired power and to increase his skill set. They wanted to illustrate how the Jedi somewhat create some of their own enemies. In the end, Grievous's transformation was to prove a point, that he was capable of matching a Jedi. His current state all stems from a point of delusion that he has to be the greatest warrior and stand above all, and finally being rejected caused him to desire to prove he was a greater warrior by killing those who did so. Grievous's whole existence was as a warrior, and being told he was incapable of doing something drove him to insanity and obsession. So that is how Grievous became a cyborg in canon. He became obsessed with the Jedi that he wanted so badly to become one. Not to aid the galaxy, but to hold the power they held, and his rejection caused a desire to be lit to prove them incorrect, no matter the cost. So how do you feel about this? Do you prefer this version of Grievous's story, where all sympathy is removed, or do you prefer where he was tricked into becoming a cyborg and blaming the Jedi for his extensive injuries? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't yet, maybe consider subscribing to ensure you stay up to date on everything Star Wars related. Also, if you enjoyed, please leave a like, as it helps the channel out a great deal. If you have any lore topics or questions you want answered, do not hesitate to tweet them at me at StupendousWave on Twitter, or leave a comment and I will try my best to answer or make a full video dedicated to your topic. Thanks again for watching, may the Force be with you, and have a great day.